take me back to the year of your matric year. You've just finished writing your final exams, and I want to know, where are you? What are you doing? And what went through your mind at that point in time about what lies ahead?
I've never been asked that question, so you're challenging me here today. But I'm gonna meet you where you're asking me to meet you. So matric was a really interesting year for me because I was one of those students who had colors for sports, colors for music, colors for academics. I was that girl. I was the prefect. The teachers liked me. I was that girl, and for me, matric was just about kind of getting through it, passing, getting the marks that I need to get to university. Because in my mind, I was like, when I get to university, I'll finally be able to discover who I really am, and I'll be able to express that. And I was excited about becoming an adult because I thought, okay, now I have the freedom to do what I really want to do and to explore things because I never did. When you're a perfectionist, when you're an overachiever, you tend to stick to the script. You tend to do what people expect you to do, and you don't actually think about what do I want to do. You just do whatever people like to do, and you try to do it as best as possible. So I was really excited at the prospect of being able to figure it out on my own and just do things differently, even though I didn't know what different was, So I was excited. That's what was going through my mind. And I was also quite nervous because I was also a very shy person in high school. Even though
difficult to believe.
I know, people always think that I'm still shy even now. I did public speaking, I did all of those things, but I was still an introvert. So I was excited about stepping out into the world and becoming more confident and expressing myself to people and getting to know different kinds of people because I felt like my life was so sheltered and I didn't actually know what people were like. So I wanted to explore different people, different environments, and just find my voice, my true voice. That's what I was thinking about in the matric.
So we know that a lot of people, it's for someone in matric, but I think it speaks to who you are. It speaks to the fact that you give a lot of thought into what you want to do in your life, as well as what you want to become. And what I want to know is, so we know that you went on to become the voice of marketing in Africa. Very big title. Was that the initial idea at that point in time, or is that something that you stumbled upon?
It's something that I stumbled upon. And the reason why I'll say that is, I think a lot of the time people see you on social media or on television or wherever you may be, they just assume that you were born great, that you woke up and you were like, I'm the voice of marketing, I'm so great. It doesn't work like that. And I really would urge people who want to build personal brands, professionals who want to make a name for themselves and in the companies that they work for, to actually allow themselves to grow into what they're good at and to grow into their talents and skills. Because when you do that, whoever you are, your brand shows itself. I didn't chase the title of the voice of marketing. It just happened. It happened because I had a really amazing podcast that so many people on the continent were listening to. And every time they send me emails, they'd say, I love your voice. You're the voice of marketing. And I was like, oh, this sounds kind of cool. Maybe I should use it as my tagline. But it was never something that I thought I was initially when I started. I just wanted to be the girl who shared marketing tips and advice for SMEs and professionals. I had never thought about being a marketing brand per se. I just wanted to share. And in sharing, it uncovered all of these things that I didn't even know I was. I didn't know that I was someone who actually enjoyed speaking as much as I do. I didn't know that I loved interacting with people as much as I do. I didn't know I was that opinionated until, I was on Twitter sharing everything I was sharing, and I realized that I enjoy this and I'm actually pretty good at it, So everything I've become has revealed itself to me. I think it was just from a consciousness of wanting to figure out who I am and doing whatever I thought would show me that. And then by doing that, it revealed who I actually was, Yeah.
I think it's a very interesting journey to take. And what I'm taking from it is that it's important to be very attentive, I guess, and to be listening out for those signs or for those, I think you're great at this, and then unpack it for yourself and what it means for you. And you chose a creative space, right? And then you chose an entrepreneurship space.
Yeah.
Now, entrepreneurship is known for its risk. It's known for maybe not being as stable as what your normal journey would be had you decided to be an accountant, for instance, and grown in that industry. And you coupled that with being a creative, which is also another area that can't necessarily cut out in stone.
Yeah.
So what are some of the highs and lows that you've experienced in your journey that you can share with us?
Oh, that question. It always gets me because I'm just like, are there really any highs? You know, I used to think that like that. I'd say, but entrepreneurship is so challenging. What are the highs actually? Are we just groping onto any good thing that happens because so many challenging things happen? Or are we just not seeing the light because we're bogged down by all the terrible things that do happen, all the challenges that we face, you know? And entrepreneurship has been freeing for a lot of people. I think when they become entrepreneurs, especially in Africa, we become entrepreneurs to survive. We become entrepreneurs because we can't find jobs, you know. And I was deliberate. I genuinely wanted to be an entrepreneur. When we were speaking earlier, I even told you that I don't have corporate experience. I didn't work in corporate my entire life. Since I went to university, since I decided what I wanted to do in my life, I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I knew that was the path that I was going to take. And when becoming an entrepreneur, I had to learn how to face myself, face my fears, do things that make me really scared, you know, like talking to people. Guys, talking to people makes me really scared. I'm afraid.
Come on.
And people don't believe me, but I really am. And over time, I've just gotten better at it because I've had to push myself so my business can grow, you know. So I found that in entrepreneurship, a lot of people don't tell you this, that it's all about you. You have to do the inside work. Whatever you feel inside, whatever you know, is what you're going to radiate when you meet people. It's what you're going to radiate in your work. It's going to come through in everything that you do. So that's why there's so many motivational pages that exist. They're not silly, you know. They're there because entrepreneurs need the motivation. You need to understand that you have to work on yourself first before you can have a thriving business. And I also, because so many more of us are doing that inside work, personal work, you're seeing so many more personal brands coming out of it. Because the more you know yourself, the more you understand who you are, the more you can communicate your true self to people. And so they want to know about you and not necessarily just about what you do, you know? And so for me, entrepreneurship, the challenges have made me stronger, but they've also allowed me to have a competitive advantage. Because every time I have a challenge, I learn a new skill. Every time something goes wrong, I learn, you know, I have more I have something more in my arsenal. So when I face new challenges, I'm better equipped for it. I don't know if that answers your question because I know I go on.
It definitely does, and I think you've done very well at giving me a high and a low at the same time. So I think you've discovered a lot about yourself in this journey, and it has pushed you to try things you've never tried before, which I love. And you're talking a lot about exploring that space in order to become better at what you do. There's something else that comes across a lot as you speak, both today and prior to that, and that's being authentic. It's being original to who you are. And I love that, guys, because I think it's beautiful. I think the way that the world is moving and shifting these days, we're going to need a lot of original ideas. We're going to need a lot of authentic ideas that are going to challenge spaces, that are going to change the narrative and give us something fresh. And what I wanted to ask you is, it's my belief, I believe that you have to be quite confident in order to do that. You have to be quite confident in order to be authentic and to believe in something different. And have you always been this confident, or is it something you have to learn? Because I think a lot of people have to learn how to get there.
It's really interesting because I don't see myself as a confident person. I know a lot of people will find that hard to believe, but I don't see myself as a confident person. But what I am and what I believe is, I believe in my talents and my skills. You know, you can put me in any room. If they ask us to do some kind of campaign, if they ask us to do whatever I'm good at, I know I'm going to win. I know I'm being the top two of whatever we're doing. I'm that confident in my skills, but I'm not necessarily just a confident individual. I can wake up and, you know, feel great and say, I'm Lebo, so I'm great, therefore I'm confident. It didn't work like that. My talents and my skills give me the confidence I need in the spaces where I need to make an impact, in the spaces where I need to achieve certain objectives. So for me, I wouldn't call myself a confident person, but I'm definitely very confident in my skills and my abilities. And that's allowed me to create my own brand, and allowed me to hold my own, you know, space in a room, you know, because I'm confident about my work. But yeah, I don't think I'm a confident person just by virtue of being myself. And there are some people who are like that, you know, and I envy them. I wish I could do that, but I'm not that.
And there are others who envy you for the way you are and what you have. But I'm getting a lot of sense of learning and improving as you go. So guys, thank you for bringing in the questions. Please keep them coming, and I'll make sure that I weave them into the conversation. And this one is still into the space that you are in, which is entrepreneurship and being a creative, right? We're going to talk about balancing them, but now we're talking about the actual space. And one of the questions that's coming up from the audience is, this is a different space. So did your family support this idea? How do they feel about it? I think a lot of creatives have stories to tell about the different reactions and levels of support.
Yeah, so I come from a family of accountants and lawyers, and we also have entrepreneurs that they studied accounting, they studied law, and they worked in corporate, then they started their businesses. So I was the defiant one who said that she doesn't want to do that. And my parents tried to convince me. So when I was applying for varsity, my dad was like, no, I'm going to apply for accounting sciences for you. You're going to become an accountant. I tried it for 1 year, went to this, the age got me. I really didn't enjoy accounting, and I knew that it wasn't for me. So I changed my degree and I changed university because I wanted to start afresh, and I wanted to be in a space where I felt like I could actualize everything that I want to be and meet new people and just be different from what I had been doing at this. So my parents didn't support it at all. They even said to me, you know what, if you want to study marketing, you're going to have to find a way to pay for it yourself, because we don't support this. We don't think it's a career that's going to put you anywhere in life, you know. So I had to learn how to hustle. And I went from being a girl who was, I guess, relatively privileged, you know, my parents could handle everything, they paid for my university, to having to make a plan for myself, you know. And I think that's what made me the entrepreneur that I am today and the creator that I am today. I feel like being broke teaches you a lot about creativity. You have to be really creative when you're broke, because you have to find ways to achieve what you want with very little, you know. So I think even being broke taught me how to be super creative. It taught me how to have faith in my talents and feel confident in my talents, because that's all I could bring to the table at the time, you know. So I had to become a tutor, and I met some of my lecturers, and I did extra work for them. I mean, I did everything under the sun. I au-paired at some point, and I au-paired with my friend's car. So I borrowed her car, and she was doing really well, and she had a job, whatever. So she was like, no, you can use my car during working time. So I au-paired. Like, I did a lot of things. And it taught me a lot about people. I met some people in spaces that I never thought I would have. And they gave me opportunities that I never thought I'd get from them, just from doing those small things. So I think my creativity was really sparked by being broke and being in a situation where I had to do everything on my own. Yeah.
And I'm going to wrap up the segment of trying to tap into your space and what you do. But there's an interesting question that I couldn't ignore here. And it says nature versus nurture. And I love this question, guys, because we're always trying to be successful in what we do. Yeah. But we at times don't know if is it refining what you have naturally, as in what you are born with, or is it adopting something new? So the question is nature versus nurture. How much success do you attribute to the two as an individual?
That's interesting. I've never really thought of that. Nature versus nurture. I think when we're born, we know who we are. We feel it in ourselves. You know, I think self-knowledge is just, it's a feeling. It's not something you say, it's just a feeling. And when you're really confident in your self-knowledge, you start to live that way, you know, and in living that way, you nurture whatever you think you know about yourself. And it allows you to share your talents and your skills or your passion with the people around you. And I think as we grow up, they teach us not to listen to that inner voice. They teach us not to feel confident and comfortable in the feeling that we have of who we are. And so we try to become what people want us to be instead of becoming what we know we should be, or just expressing and sharing who we should be. And so you have to start teaching yourself again who you are, instead of, you know, the other way around, where it should be you showing people who you are. Now you have to teach yourself who you are and then learn how to share that with people. And so I don't know, nature versus nurture, I think you're born with it, but if you want to share it with the world, you're definitely going to have to nurture it, you know? Yeah.
I completely agree. And I think also, guys, if you joined us right after the intro, there was a discussion, or rather I introduced her, but there's a number of things that I mentioned when I introduced her. Amongst that is Voice of Marketing in Africa. She's the host of her very own podcast. She does consulting. There's a lot. And there's a lot of multitasking to be done in that. And I want to know, were you always a multitasker, or is this something that you had to pick up along the way? Is this another one of your lessons that you had to learn?
I don't know if I was always a multitasker, but I've always been multitasking, you know. I'm a young Black female, and I'm the first girl. So anybody who's been in that position will understand the responsibilities that you're given as a young, you know, Black girl in your family. You end up having to do everything for everybody. I had to look after my sister all the time. If they gave us money for the tuck shop, I had to carry it. You know, I had to be the one who was responsible for everything. So I had to know how to take care of myself and her, you know. And I think that's where I kind of started learning how to multitask, how to prioritize myself and other people. I learned it from that young age. And ever since then, I mean, you know, in high school, I did everything. So I did all the sports. I did music, I played an instrument, I did academic stuff, and I had to learn how to balance that. I had to learn how to manage my schedule. I had to learn how to excel in all of that and give it my full energy every single time. So I think I've just been thrust into environments that require me to figure it out, you know, figure out how to multitask, make it work for you. So yeah, I don't think I've always been a multitasker, but I think I've always been multitasking because I've just been thrust into those environments. Yeah.
I think guys definitely carry on bringing the questions through. I'm going to make sure that I dish them out to Lebo. I can see that you guys want to touch on a lot of areas, and it's important that you leave with your questions answered. So I'll definitely insert them as I go. And one of the questions is, what marketing strategies would you say are unique to you? So this is something completely different from what we were discussing. But what marketing strategies would you say are unique to you? Something that has never been done before. I think this is a very powerful question.
So what marketing strategies are unique to me in building my brand or just in building any brand?
I think we can answer both. So maybe something you've picked up in your brand and then apply it to another brand that could be different.
Okay, so a lot of my marketing strategies come from how I use social media and digital tools for my clients. And I just believe that that's the future of everything. Like if your company doesn't have some kind of digital presence or social media presence, then you're not equipped for the future, you know? And the beautiful thing about social media is that it's taught a lot of companies and brands that they've got the power to communicate with their audience and they can figure out who their audience are and create products that actually make sense for the people who they're trying to sell to, right? So my biggest marketing strategy that I think is really important and we should be using going forward into the future is you should start and build the community first and then create the product later. And traditionally, people were doing it the other way around. So they create the product and then they find the market. But that doesn't really make sense because a lot of the time you'll find that you spend all this money, R&D, to develop this amazing product, and you're like, people are going to love it because it's like this, and we tested it, and then you go to the market and you realize, actually, our entire strategy was wrong, you know? But what happens is when you build a community, you get to understand exactly what people need. And then when you create that you want to create for people, you know exactly what they're looking for in that product. So you can create a product that's more relevant to their lived experiences, you know? It's the same with the LeboLion brand. I mean, when I started on Twitter and with my podcast, I actually just started mining for an audience. So I would literally tweet certain things and I would check, are people responding to this kind of thing? Are they enjoying what I'm tweeting, what I'm sharing with them? And then I would curate the experience on my Twitter to fit what I thought people were responding to, you know? And in that, they start to position me as a marketing expert and me as a brand. I didn't ask them to, they did it because they saw it in me. And then I built and created the products that they wanted from me from that. So for me, I think the biggest thing that we're doing now and going forward is you have to think of customer first then product instead of product then customer, you know? I think that's, if we could all just think that way, we would have better marketing, better sales, better relations with our customers and better businesses. Yeah.
You've touched on a very important point that I can definitely relate to, specifically from Velocity Club and how we rather service the people that we interact with, and that is the word community.
Yeah.
And I love that you spoke about community and not the market, and not customers, and not individuals, but rather community. Unpack that for me. Why community?
You know, as the world becomes digitized and people are living on social media, there are over 3 billion people online. You know, everything is becoming more transparent. Everything is more transparent. So what you're seeing is you have brands who will tell you what they're about, but you also have feedback from their customers on their social media pages, on their website. So you actually get to tell, is this brand telling us the truth or is this brand lying to us and just pretending because they've got a nice logo and they've got all the resources to make themselves look nice. So what you're seeing in that interaction is that people actually, they're not fans and they want to be treated as people who are contributing to a greater purpose. So if we are the Momentum community, together with Momentum, we're trying to contribute to financial freedom. You know, that's what we're all doing. It's a team effort, and communities are all about team effort. So it's you no longer have fans or customers. You have a community. The community sticks with you no matter what's happening because you're always talking to them. They're always talking to you. It's an exchange of energies. It's not a we give you a product to tell us if you like it. send it back or keep it. No, it's not that. It's not a one-dimensional, one-channel exchange. It's a multi-channel exchange. So it's very important to build communities and not just try to see customers or followers or fans. Yeah.
Guys, we have a lot of community. This was not planned, but you're definitely going to get an invite later on to join our community and be a part of something so amazing. You are going to get it anyway. It's not because Lebo said it, but I find it very interesting that you positioned it in that way, because I think we're also a brand as Momentum Velocity Club that likes building on its people, building on experiences, building on what people are going through at the moment and what solutions they need to get them out of that situation to where they desire to be. So great to know from an expert that we're definitely on the right track.
And thank you for that question. Thank you for the marketing question.
A marketing question, brilliant. So, Ms. Marketing, now to the business, right? So there's a lot of things that you enjoy doing. I know a lot of us like to dabble in a bit of this and a bit of that, and you're good at this, and you find all these things that you're super interested in. I know especially millennials want to take over the world.
Yeah.
But how do you balance it efficiently and effectively to ensure that you're always successful in whatever you do?
How do I balance my hobbies? Or how do I balance my hobbies and work?
Your hobbies, your work, your passion. From marketing to podcast to consulting, everything you do, where do you find space? I sometimes think you have 48 hours in your day, and I probably have just 4 with the amount of things that you've managed to put yourself into and consistently maintain the quality that you produce in each one of them.
This is what I'm about to say is going to sound really unconventional, and some people might be mad at what I'm going to say, but this is just how I've lived my life, and this is what I believe. I think we take things too seriously. And we've been told that if you take something seriously and you sit in your office and you lock yourself in and you do all this work and you have bags under your eyes and you can't sleep and you're constipated and you're hardworking, And I think you just have to dismantle that culture of, if you completely let go of your mental health and your physical health and just your people, your humanness, then you'll be successful. I think being successful is all about being as human as possible, as human as possible. That sounds strange, but yeah, it's about being human, So for me, it's about listening to myself, If I feel like I'm particularly creative in the next 2 weeks, then I'll focus on creative projects. If I feel I'm a bit drained from work, I'll schedule time for my hobbies and I go for work, And some people might say that that's a luxury. I don't think so. I feel like if I wasn't doing that, I would burn out and I would lose focus and I would lose my direction. So for me, it's all about listening to myself, figuring out what in that time and just doing it. I don't make myself feel guilty about what I don't do. And I try to take things as seriously as people want me to take them. I make it serious for myself. So if I feel like this is really serious and I have to sit down for an hour and do it, I will. But if I feel like I don't need to, then I won't, But I'm not going to try to perform working or perform focus or perform having balance when I don't. I'm just authentic to myself in that way, and I communicate it to other people. So sometimes if I'm working with somebody and we're on a long-term project, I'll tell them, what, right now we're really busy and I feel a bit tired. So the work is going to be XYZ. You can expect it in this much time. And I found that people actually really appreciate that. Instead of you trying to be everything, trying to seem like you've got it all together, but you actually don't. So we shouldn't take it so seriously, and we should be authentic to ourselves and listen to ourselves, I think.
Guys, I don't know if you're getting this, but what I'm loving from this conversation, and I see some comments in the comment section as well, is you're telling us to be human.
Yeah.
You're telling us to be ourselves. And I think often at times we think greatness lives elsewhere. And there's another success in another. I know we were speaking about this. Lebo and I went into a discussion about this earlier, that sometimes it's honestly finding yourself. It's authentically looking at who you are, what you are good at, and exploring that. And it doesn't live in someone else. It's actually in you.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of you identifying that and shining it. So I've got my tips as well. Any challenges in this balance that you can share with us? What's challenging in trying to keep everything afloat?
For me, my greatest challenge has been in not judging myself, So what will happen is you listen to yourself and you're like, I'm feeling a bit burnt out, so I want to take more time for my hobbies or take more time to go to the gym or whatever. But then you'll go on social media and your competitors or your peers look like they're working really hard and they're going full steam. So now you start to judge yourself and you say, am I really doing things properly? Should I be doing it like that? They look like they're working from a.m. until 12 p.m. What am I doing it correctly? Am I not doing correctly? Do I look like I'm working hard? Am I not working hard? So it's like just judging yourself, you know. And I found that just you have to understand how you work and figure out ways and coping mechanisms to help you get back to the right mentality whenever you lose your step. And anything like judging yourself, you have to have some kind of tool or breathing exercise, whatever you want, that will help you get back to your center. Because there's a lot of information out there. Social media is very noisy, the world is very noisy. And if you always look around and listen to other people, you'll always feel like what you do is wrong or it's not enough. Yeah.
Interesting. Someone else wants to know as well. So we're speaking about being human. We're speaking about being ourselves and finding our authenticity, right? It comes across again. And somebody wants to know, what question can I keep asking myself to check myself against this parameter or against this temperature? Am I being authentic?
Yeah.
Am I being real to who I am? Is there a question I can ask myself just to sort of center?
For me, that question is when, what am I doing it for? You know, we were talking earlier about financial decisions that people make, you know, and a lot of the time, when people buy
interesting
things,
perspective, guys. I look out for that. Interesting perspective, yes.
Yeah, so it's about, you know, are you buying this house because people will think that you are rich, people will think you're successful, or are you buying it because it makes you happy and you can, I don't know, do whatever you feel like you need to do in that house? Why are you doing whatever you're doing? Are you these kinds of clients because if you have this kind of client, everyone will think that your business is successful? Or are you seeking them because they fit your objectives and they fit your plan that you have for your life? So for me, every time I lose my way, I always ask myself, what am I doing this for? And if I can't answer that question with something that aligns with my plan, then I know that it's incorrect. And if I answer that question and I say I'm doing it because somebody else is doing it, then I definitely know that I'm on the wrong path. So that's the question. What am I doing this for?
What am I doing this for? That is the question. Test yourself against whatever that you are putting your effort and time into. So there's a lot of things that we try, right? And nothing's wrong with trying, nothing's wrong with exploring. Lebo definitely told us in her journey, there's a lot that she's tried, but I'm sure she didn't end up doing everything that she's tried. She did most of it. But I think it's also important to know that you shouldn't be exploring everything sometimes. And what I want to ask is, what are some of the red flags to say, look, this is not working, and maybe put it into something else? What can you look out for if you are to be honest with yourself?
A lot of the answers I'm going to give you, and I think that I've been giving you for our entire conversation, seem very airy-fairy. I know a lot of people want, like, you know, let's say the 3 C's. then you'll be fine. But guys, life is not like that. And a lot of the time you'll find that the practical tools, the steps that we give you can only be achieved once you've fixed the internal struggles that you have within yourself. Because a lot of the time, if you are doing too much, it's because you don't believe in yourself. You know, it's because you don't believe in your talent, so you feel like you have to do everything just to prove to people that you can do something, you know? And then when we're looking at it, we're seeing somebody who doesn't actually know what they're about, because how can you do everything? You know what I mean? Don't be afraid to experiment. Experimenting teaches you who you are and it shows you what you're good at. But also, if you're doing too many things and you're not sure why, you know, then that means that you need to ask yourself why you don't believe in your talents, why you don't believe in your skills, and how do you fix that for yourself? What's going to help you do that? So for me, if I'm doing something and I'm doing it because everybody's doing it and I'm not too sure, you know, what's happening, then I know that that's a red flag for me. Then I stop. Then I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. I have to take a step back. And then when I figure out why or how or to make it me, customized to me, then I might go back or I might stop it completely, you know? But you really need to know why you are doing it and why is so important. Another red flag would be, that's a good one. Let me think about this. Another red flag would be, so we said why, and also, I had these another.
It's fine. I'll come back. There's lots to ask you, so it's okay. We can come back to that. You mentioned something that also spoke to me as well earlier and now, and that's the importance of having conversations with yourself to find the answers. I think one thing I've learned about Lebo with the time that we spend is that she has a lot of conversations with herself. Like she's saying, I ask myself why, I ask myself, what am I doing this for? And at Velocity Club, we're also very very, very passionate about conversations. That's one of the reasons we have these conversations with people like you who've achieved their success. To sort of get into their minds, yes, you are successful. Sort of get into their minds and find out, what do you do? What have you gotten right? How do we learn from that? And I was very impressed by the fact that you have a lot of these conversations with yourself.
Yeah.
But I know there's someone in the comments who said, do you have a mentor? Because sometimes these conversations can be had with someone else that could help with how you do your conclusions or get to those solutions. So do you have a mentor, and how has that been effective for you?
People love having mentors. I don't get it. I won't lie to you. Like every time I've spoken at an event or had a webinar or an IGT, people talk about mentors and mentorship, and they want to have like a physical, a person they know whose office they go to, and this is my mentor, right? But I find that can also be a form of procrastination, because you think that just by virtue of going to this person's office and having a conversation with them that you're actually doing something when you're actually not doing anything. So I don't have a mentor personally, or I don't have a physical mentor, but I do feel like we've got so many mentors online. You know, we have YouTube, and there are all these people who are experts in the things that I want to know or things that I want to, and I use those people as my mentors. And what I find really effective about that is whenever I go onto YouTube, for example, and I watch a video by, let's say, Greta, for example, I'll have a notepad with me and I'll write down my notes. Whatever I get from that thing, I'll write down my notes, and then I'll actually do the thing. So for me, I think mentorship is more of a process of just learning from whoever you can learn from and implementing that knowledge. So you can get mentorship from a book, you can get it from a YouTube video, you can get it from somebody's ID feed. It doesn't have to be somebody who you visit all the time. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I feel like before you seek a physical mentor, you know, who can help you with things like funding, for example, that you can't get when you're watching a YouTube video, make sure that you've done the work on yourself. Make sure that you have the knowledge that you need. Make sure that you know strategies that you want to implement. When you go to your mentor, have something to offer them, you know? It's an exchange at the end of the day, because I know a lot of people will ask for mentorship or DM me and say, oh, can you be my mentor? But they don't offer me anything in return, you know? I'm giving you my time. What do I get out of that? You know, are you going to, if you have a video editing company, are you going to edit some of my videos? What are you going to give me in exchange? It can't just be a one-sided relationship. I think a lot of people don't get that. So mentorship is not the be-all and end-all, and mentorship is in a lot of things, but before you chase and seek a mentor, make sure that you've done the work within yourself and you come to your mentor with a plan. Yeah.
I've done the work. Will you be my mentor?
I don't know about that. I don't know about
that. Very, very, very interesting. And I think some of the people are excited and they love your approach in being authentic and your approach, your human element approach, everything that you speak about and everything that you comment on. So I know you said earlier that might sound like it's a bit airy. I don't want it to come across that, but I think that's how people learn.
Yeah.
And you seem like you're learning, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
So we saw your the mentor part, very interesting perspective. I like it. It's different. I've never heard an answer like that before, so that's very interesting. But someone wants to know, who do you look up to?
Nice.
Do you look up to anyone in the marketing industry? Not a mentor, but someone she looks up to. Do you look up to anyone? And the second part is, what are you reading, if you have any favorite reads at the moment?
Those two questions. People love asking those questions as well. Who do I look up to in the marketing field? I'll bring it to SA. Somebody who I met 2 years ago, and he's just been such a pleasure. And every time I'm around him, I learn so much, you know, and his presence inspires me to be better at what I do and to be more confident in myself. And that is the founder of DNA Brand Architects, Sylvester Chauke. If you've ever met him, you'll understand exactly what I talk about when I say this guy, he's full of energy, but he's also so compassionate. You know, he's a great leader because he leads with kindness, and he's got a approach to things, which is something I'm not used to. So he's teaching me a lot about leadership. He's teaching me a lot about how to exist in the marketing space unapologetically, but also be impactful, and also, you know, find the right opportunities, when to say yes, when to say no. So just from being around him, having a couple of coffees with him, getting to know him, he's really inspired me, and I look up to him even though we're peers. You know, he really inspires me to keep going and to keep being myself and doing what I do. And what was the second question?
The second question is, what are you reading at the moment that you really like? Could be just any favorite read of yours.
Right now, I'm listening to an audiobook, and I think it's a very popular one called Black Swan, The Black Swan. I really love this book because it makes me feel better about how I do things, you know? I'd like to believe that I do things unconventionally, the way that I strategize, life, the way that I want to exist in the market, the way that I do things is very unconventional. And I spend a lot of time trying to show my clients and my audience why it's okay to be different and why it's okay to do things differently, you know. So what Black Swan is showing me is that it's okay to think differently. And in fact, the people who think differently are the ones who create the future, because they're not at now and the past to create something for the future that doesn't make any sense, you know. Anything that's new for the future doesn't exist yet. And we can't look to the past to tell us what it should be, you know. All you can literally do is think of it, have the audacity to make it happen, and let it fail or let it win. So yeah, that's what I'm listening to, the Black Swan.
Black Swan.
Yeah.
All right. So guys, there's lots of insights. I just saw someone say that they're taking notes as well. You don't give yourself enough credit. You don't give yourself enough credit. You just said you listen to people and you take notes. Now we're taking notes of what you're saying, and it's whoa, you know? Exactly. Yeah. So I think let's switch on to a different topic. So Momentum Velocity Club, what we're passionate and obsessed about is really helping young professionals achieve their success, right? And I said in the beginning that yes, we help people align their finances to where they want to go and how they want to grow within themselves. But sometimes it isn't easy. That topic isn't easy. Aligning isn't easy. And guys, I saw a tweet that Lebo had that really inspired me to want to open up the conversation and find out what her thinking and her perspective around money and lessons are. And allow me to look at my screen because I want to read it and I don't want to mess it up. But it says, if you haven't seen it, I know you guys are Lebo fans, so you've probably seen it. But if you haven't, it goes, when you live in a toxic environment, you find yourself spending money you don't have, to buy things you don't need, to impress people you don't like, to feed a life that doesn't make you happy, or a better version of yourself.
Yeah.
You'll try to convince yourself that it's motivation, but it's not. And I think what really touched me was the last line. You'll try to convince yourself that it's motivation, but it's not.
Yeah.
Where was your headspace at when you wrote this? Talk to me about it.
So I was taking a walk, you know, I take walks, I jog in the morning or I take a walk, whatever it may be. That day I was taking a walk and I had just come off the phone with the bank, you know, because before lockdown and COVID, I decided that I wanted to buy a really obnoxious house in a very expensive suburb. And at the time when I made that decision, it made sense to me. I was like, I'm going to buy this house. And then when I take my videos for YouTube and Instagram, everyone's going to see them. It's going to look great, you know. And then lockdown happened and COVID happened. And I realized that so many things I thought I needed, I actually didn't need them. And I had to question why I had made those decisions to begin with, why I wanted to buy that house, why I was thinking of buying a car or whatever I was thinking at the time. And I realized that so many of us make decisions to please other people and to show other people that we're worthy, you know. If you drive up to a meeting and you're in a little Yaris, but you're an entrepreneur, CEO of a company, people don't take you seriously. But if you come with a gym and car, people might think, okay, maybe she's making money, so we're going to take her seriously, you know. So I think a lot of us, African professionals, you know, African entrepreneurs, we feel the pressure to keep proving ourselves and to keep showing people that we are actually succeeding and you should work with me because I have these things and these things are a symbol of success, you know. And then as you build a business, as you keep growing, you realize that these things don't matter, you know, they really don't matter. No matter what people tell you, they really don't matter. What matters is the work that you do. What matters is how you treat people when you walk into the room. Are you a diva or are you actually friendly? Are you yourself? Are you pretending? Who you are matters more than what you have, you know? And the more you are yourself, the more you can create a life that gives you what you want. And the more people will be happy to share resources with you, will be happy to give you the jobs that you're looking for. So when I realized that I just made a really silly decision buying this house, and I thought I knew things about finance. So I was like, you know, I'm good. I buy things because I need them, And then when I had to reassess this house purchase, I was like, Lebsy, you know, you're also a person. Sometimes you also fall for the things that you see online. The social media can also put pressure on you. You know, you see people buying their dream cars, their dream houses, and you're like, okay, so clearly if I want to be successful, be seen as successful, I need these things as well. I started to dial it down a bit, think about what I actually need, think about what I actually want and who I want to be. And then I just realized that it wasn't a good decision. And I wanted to share that with people, you know, you don't have to have these things to be successful. You don't have to have these things to be worthy. You just have to do the right work and be true to yourself.
Very, very powerful.
Yeah.
And this is a personal experience that you had through a conversation that you had with yourself, right?
Yeah.
My question is, have you always been this money savvy, or is it something that you had to learn as well?
Listen,
Or were you always
I'm
thinking about finances the way that you do?
No, I'm a creative at heart. Okay. Before I got to varsity, I was like deep in the arts at school. So I was in the choir and I played the saxophone, I was in the jazz band. So I wanted to go to Wits on a music scholarship before I even thought about marketing and accounting and that kind of thing. And I thought I was going to be a musician.
Yes.
So I'm super creative. That's how I think. Everything is in the feelings, and then it's very airy-fairy. And even in me wanting to be an entrepreneur, the financial part is something I never considered. I don't know why, it just happened that way. And so when the reality hit me that, hey, to pay your bills, you have to start having a financial mindset. It made me have to change the way I exist and the way I see the world. So I haven't always been money savvy. I'm still learning to this day. I still watch videos on YouTube. I still ask people. I still talk to bankers. Like, I'm really trying to learn and to improve my money mindset. And I think it's important. The more I've improved it, the more I've invested time in learning, the more money I've actually had. And it's funny because people assume that by saying that I made more money, but even in that money I was already making, I was able to free up so much more money just from having better, education about money, having more money access to people who know about it, and using those tools that they give me to make my life better. So it's not about making more money; it's about using the money that you have better, so it can give you more money. Yeah.
It's not about having more, and you speak to something that is also quite a great sort of motto or quote that I like to use, and that is that more money doesn't solve money problems.
Yeah.
More money doesn't solve money problems, guys. And you realize that when you work with your own money and you help people work better with their own money, that sometimes the solutions are actually there. But I think that at times you don't know which questions you should be asking yourself. And that's why Lebo said, the more I consulted, the more I spoke to people who actually knew, the more I realized that these are the things that I need to implement. But I think we are fair in saying that sometimes we're not all privileged to that type of knowledge. Sometimes we all don't know which questions we should be asking ourselves and which questions we shouldn't. And that's why Velocity Club actually created a financial checkup. So it has a couple of questions that you answer, and it tells you more about your finances and it lets you know what's missing, what's not, what can you do now in order to better your situation going forward. I'm actually going to share this with you guys. Please take a few minutes to complete it. It'll make you understand your situation and current state better, as well as the different things that you can do to actually improve it. And what I want to know as well is, do you have one big lesson that you wish you knew before related to this topic?
Relating to money.
That you know now?
My one big lesson relating to money is money is a resource that needs to be used. Your money can't work for you if you don't use it. So if you're making money to save it, you're not going to become wealthy. If you're making money to put it away, you're not going to be able to build a life that allows you to have everything that you want. So I didn't believe this until I had to do it, but your money has to work for you. Don't keep it to yourself. Make it work. That's the point of it. It's a resource that has to be used. And if you use your money, it works for you and it gives you the things that you want. So yeah, I just had to learn to be courageous about my money and how I use it, because I was afraid to invest at a time, like stocks and all these things, and it's still pretty foreign to me, I won't lie. But I'm learning more about it. I'm open to it because I've learned that the more I use my money, the more money I get back. So yeah, money is a resource that needs to be used. Use your money. Use it.
Use your money. And also be yourself. I think there's a lot of gems that I'm getting. Be yourself. Ask yourself why you're doing it. Use your money wisely. Be yourself and put yourself into everything that you do, and educate and learn. I think if you don't take away anything from today, it's learn from your experiences, okay? Because I think we know that we learn at varsity, we learn in different workshops, we learn at courses, even from motivational people, but you learn from your own experiences and better yourself from where you are at the moment moving forward. Someone wants to know if Lebo could ask her younger self or tell her younger self something. I see this question coming a lot through different speakers, and I think it's a very interesting question, guys, because you always want to know. You see this beautiful women sitting beside me who's successful, who's made a brand for herself. But let's talk about the younger Lebo. Is there something that you didn't know that you wish you knew?
I wish I had known that I was enough and that I've always been enough, that I don't need to do more to get what I want, that I don't need to please people for them to like me. I think I suffered from that a lot when I was younger, thinking that in order for somebody to like me or for me to get whatever I want, I have to do more and be more to people. And as I get older, more I build this LeboLion brand, I realized that people just like me for me. And it was a weird thing for me to experience in the beginning because I was really shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just saying what I think and people like it. And even if they didn't like it, that's not the point. But the point is, it's okay to exist as yourself. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. And it makes life easier because once you exist as yourself, what you realize is whether people like it or not, it doesn't matter because it's you. And when you're trying to be somebody else, if people don't like that, you get very upset, you get sad, you feel depressed, you harbor a lot of resentment because you're like, well, I'm doing this for you. So why don't you like it? And you start to compare yourself to people and then life really sucks. So I wish I had just known that, I'm enough and that's okay.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
That you are enough.
Yeah.
Guys, I just got a message to say that the financial checkup is off. I'll definitely make sure that you receive it in an email as well, everybody who attended the webinar. So don't stress about that. I just didn't want it to distract you. A beautiful question that just came up. And I think Lebo is going to like this, given our conversation earlier.
Okay.
It goes, what is your view on Black African professionals coming together to solve African problems? Because it seems like everybody wants to do their own thing.
It's like you were in our conversation. Having this conversation. Wow. And anybody who's been following me for the past 2 to 3 years knows that I'm all about the African continent and African talent. That's my thing. I want to go around the world just spreading that message about African talent and the African continent because I really believe that we've got the potential to make Africa as great as we want it to be, And what I found is because of all of the different challenges that we face in our personal lives and the way that our society is built and constructed, it makes it very hard for Black people to come together and make something great. We're not incapable of doing it, but it's really challenging to do it for so many reasons. And I just want to encourage people to do it anyway. Even if you feel like, oh, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, or partnering with this person maybe a weaker, or we just don't listen to those voices. Do it anyway. There's always something good that comes out of it. I really and truly believe it. And a lot of you can attest to sort of my Twitter, for example, whenever people share their thoughts on a marketing topic that I post about or whatever, I always retweet and engage. And for me, that's just a small token of me showing people that, hey guys, we can share. No, I'm not the only expert out there. I'm not the only person with an opinion. I believe that everybody has a voice. And if we can, we should amplify people's voices. If they're saying what I think is the right thing or whatever I think people need to hear, then I should amplify it in the way that I know how to. So it's just sharing in one way or another, collaborating in one way or another, I think will help us move forward. And will also help us feel more comfortable and confident in working with each other. The narrative hasn't been that Black creatives and Black professionals should work together. It's been the opposite. It's kind of been on some, go to your job, go to wherever you go, don't work with each other, get a salary, be okay. But we need to change that narrative. Let's work together. Let's collaborate.
Almost as if collaborating will distract you from the goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Collaborating will move you slower.
Yes.
But you actually get further if you're together. And I love what Lebo's saying about amplifying, which is if there's a great cause looking to empower people like you and like-minded people, rather work towards amplifying that as opposed to dispersing yourself and spreading. I love that. We love that before. So you were definitely in our conversation earlier.
But also, I think just to add on to that, it's communication, I know a lot of people who might feel like I don't read them enough or respond enough to their emails. They might feel a bit upset about what I'm saying and say, but you don't respond to my things. And it's a communication thing, guys. Like, yes, we should work together, we should collaborate, but how do you approach me, do you show me what value you're going to bring to the table, or do you just say, hi, I'm this person, so you should work with me? You should never feel like to anybody's time or attention,
Wow.
So yes, we can collaborate, yes, we can lift each other up, but let's do it the right way, let's approach each other correctly, and then we can actually unearth the full potential of that collaboration, I think. Yeah.
So have your story in check.
Yes,
have your story in check.
have something to offer.
Have something to offer.
Yeah.
What are you doing for me? What am I doing for you? Let's bring our resources together. Let's bring our minds together and let's collaborate together. So it's not you taking from me or vice versa, but it's us collaborating.
So actually the two pieces of the conversation.
Yes,
communicate, collaborate, and communicate, collaborate, communicate.
Nice. So you have the things we didn't do it intentionally, but here it is. Something else that I want to ask you, right, is so this is also just back to our previous conversation, but I want to put the conversation out there. And the person is asking, what has been your worst financial decision when you look back that you wish you never made?
That would be relating to black tax. You know, as Black people, all of us will experience black tax in one way or another. And black tax is just having to take the money that you make and helping your family members, whether it's extended family or immediate family. There's always somebody who's in need that you feel compelled to help or you feel pressured to help, you know. So when I started making money, I would take that money and give it to people who needed it in my family. When they'd ask me, I'd just say yes, you know. I wouldn't even ask what it's for. I would just feel bad and I'd be like, well, I'm more privileged than this person because they're asking me for money, so I'm just going to give it to them, you know. But I learned that you really can't give when you don't have, you know. If you're making, let's say, 13,000 Rand a month, you don't have enough money to give somebody else. You really don't. Most of us wouldn't have enough money to be helping other people. So if you really want to be helpful to the people that you love, you have to be a bit selfish in the beginning and help yourself so that when you do help them, you're not taking things out of your own mouth or taking opportunities away from yourself. You know, so for me, it's just been about don't spend money out of a place of feeling guilty or sad for somebody. You have to do it because you want to, and it makes sense for your goals and plans.
It makes sense with your plans. And one of the things that we like to use a lot in Velocity is the fact that every rand is a home.
Yeah.
And that means that it's only the rands that you have that can have a home, not the ones you don't have. So if you're already sitting at a zero, it means you no longer have anything to give. And I know sometimes it's an emotional responsibility that's attached. It's a lot that's attached to that.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important for you to reflect on that. Can I do it? Am I able to do it? Is it possible? And then make that action. So very interesting one there. I'm going to push in your questions, guys, as we go on because it's towards the end and I want to make sure that we get them answered. And one of them is, how do you choose your next business venture? And what do you look out for?
That's a good question. I'm really excited about the social media space and the digital space. So for me, I'm looking for projects that allow us to be connected to the rest of the world in the cheapest way possible and the easiest way possible in a way that allows you to build communities, right? And I'm particularly passionate about businesses and projects that talk about and look for the African person. And not just the African person, but acknowledging that there's so many different kinds of African people that exist on the continent. So how do we serve them? So if I had to put this into like a real world context, it would be if I'm looking for a podcast business venture, I'll look for one maybe where they have translators who speak all the different languages in our country. Because I feel like we're excluding so many people by not having that available. You know, the podcast market is only as small as it may seem because we're not communicating our podcast in a way that allows the entire market to have access to it. So we can't blame the market for our inefficiencies. And I'm looking for businesses that address those inefficiencies so we can move forward and be more connected online. That's what I'm looking for. That's how I answer the question.
You did answer the question. Lebo drops a lot of bars, guys. Like she stays dropping a lot of bars and I think thoughts of insight. And it makes me tempted to want to tap into that rather than moving on to the next, which is brilliant and amazing. So don't be worried. You are answering the questions. And there's another question as well, but I want to position this a bit differently, right? And the question is, do you think that bigger marketing businesses and agencies are actually open to collaborate with people who are looking to do something of value? So maybe smaller than they are. But I want to twist the question, and I hope that the person doesn't mind, but I want to say, what can small businesses do to sort of entice bigger businesses to be open to collaborate?
That's a question because of many factors, and I'm going to try and pack it as clearly as I can because my mind is always like this.
Okay. Let's do this.
Possible. But I think first is our mindset. So what is a small business? What is a big business? And if you've got a small business, how do you think as the business, how do you exist in the market? Do you exist as if you're a small business, or do you just exist as I can compete with anybody who's in the space that I'm in? You know, I think the way we think as small business has been the reason why we don't get a lot of opportunities that we're seeking, because we think small, so we act small. So you go to big corporate, they're like, well, you know, you can't really meet our needs because you're too small, you know? So when you enter the room, you have to act big and think big, because if you want to partner with big players, they need people who think and act big. So the first thing is the mindset. And the second thing is, well, in my experience, I found that bigger agencies, especially in the marketing space, are pretty open to working with smaller agencies. But I think the difference between a small agency and a big agency is how much they value their ideas. So what you find in small businesses is that people take their ideas very seriously. They hold them so close to their hearts and like, oh my God, this is the idea. We thought about it for 3 months. It's so amazing. And so they haven't really tasted it enough in the market. They haven't really played around enough to see if it's actually viable, you know. But with big businesses and big agencies, they play quickly. They think quickly and they implement quickly because they've got the resources and the security to do so. So they're more competitive in that sense. So if you're going to want to work with a big agency, you have to understand that you also need to be willing and able to take big risks and quickly and implement it quickly as well. Yeah.
Think big. Don't think small. I mean, why are you calling it a small business? The why question comes across a lot.
Yeah.
Keep testing yourself against that. As we sadly come to the end, it's amazing how an hour just flies past. But I want you to close with this. What does the future hold for digital marketing agencies in South Africa? I think you touched on this a bit in terms of where you think the market is going. But what does the future hold?
What does the future hold for digital marketing
Agencies in South Africa?
In South Africa, I think I want to say the future is bright, but we never know what is coming. I can never say, but I think there's a lot of potential for growth and opportunities. You know, the beautiful thing about the online space is so many more people get to be players in the space. You know, you're not limited by budget. You're not limited by the size of your team. In fact, the smaller your team, the better. The leaner you are, the better. The more you can make big decisions faster, the better it is for you. So I feel like with social media, it's allowing, not just social media, digital as well, it's allowing small businesses to have a more big business edge, and it's allowing businesses to collaborate in ways that they couldn't before. So, you know, if I am a big corporate and I feel like, okay, I want to work with this agency, but I'm not too sure yet, and I don't want to put in too much money in them, how do we collaborate together without adding too much risk to the whole collaboration? I feel like the digital sphere allows people to do that, and allows agencies to do that. So for me, I think there's a lot of opportunities, and I think we need to think about how do we include the whole market in anything that we do for marketing in South Africa? How do we include the entire market? We need to be more of an inclusive market in our comms and everything that we do than an exclusive market. We need to stop saying, okay, well, the e-commerce market is really tiny and it's only people who live in Bryanston and in the city. Like, how do we open up the channels, you know? And I think the businesses that have those solutions are the ones that are going to win in the future.
Think big.
Think big.
Think big. Think wide. Make sure that you're inclusive. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. The hour literally just flew past. And I was going to end with asking Lebo to give us 3 things that she thinks are important, but we already know. It's communicate, collaborate, and community. Thank you very much for joining us on another MomentumZA Insights Group series. We're definitely going to get in touch about communication and next steps, and I'm going to share the financial checkup that I promised you guys. Thank you for dialing in. Thank you so much, Lebo, for joining us. It was an intriguing, very insightful conversation. And we'll see you next time.